What's up, everybody? I'm actually in the city of Chino, at the office of Brian Davila. So getting to see this guy in person. He's in the other office right now. We're gonna hang out a little bit after the webinar. What's up, Will? How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. Like the hat, man. Deal machine.
I am a deal machine. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, we got some of these repeat offenders: John Savalas, Nick Mobley, Victor Vallejo, Warren Rubin. What's up, my guys? Hope you guys are
Good.
doing amazing.
Yeah, good to see all the familiar faces in here, right?
Yeah, man. Love seeing everybody taking action too. I see everybody's Instagrams. Everybody's going out there attacking, getting deals, closing on stuff, growing.
I see Andy just joined the room. Andy and I were just driving for dollars this morning down in Southgate. So good to see you in here, Andy. I know Andy works full-time job. He's out there grinding and still finding time to put in work. And I see a lot of you guys in here in the chat. Like Alex said, like constantly out there on Instagram, I see everybody is putting in work. Everybody's taking action. Everybody's taking steps, it's just huge, right?
Absolutely. I just want to give a quick shout out to Lindsay. She was able to drive me to Joshua Tree yesterday. I was able to get so much more work done. She got to overhear a lot of my conversations and she got to learn. It was a win-win because I don't technically have a car here in Los Angeles. So sometimes I'll have to rent car or I'll use family member's car. But today, also big shout out to Nathan. He was able to bring me over here to Chino office. And so thank you so much for that. And yeah, man, I'm excited for this webinar because we're going to interview Brian Davila. I mean, this guy is a rock star. He's a stud. This guy's an action taker, a hustler. He does not bullshit around. He just gets things done. And that's what I love about him. I have some of the most candid conversations I have with anybody in my network with that guy. We talk about a variety of topics and he's always pushing me in a good way. You need friends like that just won't let you, give yourself excuses. But because who's the easiest person to lie to, you guys? Yourself. And so we do this to ourselves. We lie to ourselves about the actions we're taking or the results we're getting. And, you need friends that are going to hold you accountable. You need friends that are doing more things than you so they can, inspire you, but also, lift you up when when you're down a little bit.
Yep. Those kind of people are always important. I know Brian is our accountability coach, so he always kind of provides us with that grounding and that support. Really excited to have him on later today and get some info from him. Guys, if this is your first time, if you don't mind, go ahead and use the chat feature down below. If you are returning, go ahead and use that chat feature down below as well. Go ahead and let everybody know who you are and what your Instagram tag is and what market you're currently investing in. If you're looking for homes, if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, what you're kind of looking to accomplish. Let us know down there in the chat. That way we can all kind of continue to grow the tribe and learn different ways that we're able to help you guys as well, right?
Yeah, and also you guys put in the chat if you guys taken some massive action the last week. I want to hear it. What have you done in the last week? Let's see what you guys been up to because this webinar we put it on, we put as much value out there, but I want you guys taking action. So I want to know what you guys been up to last week. Who's taking some action?
Love that. I mean, like I said, Andy and I, we got after it and did some driving for dollars this morning and actually hit about 60, 70 properties. So that was a big win for us. But love that, Alex. Let's see some wins down there in the chat. Would love to hear from you guys and hear what kind of wins you guys are having. I'll start reading out a couple of them. I think Mark said that he drove to Vegas and is driving some zip codes out there. That's huge action, right? You're driving different zip codes. You're learning neighborhoods. You're learning price points. One of the properties that we just got, Alex, we kind of were able to get it under contract because we knew a zip code. We knew an area. And we saw a property come up under, in a similar area code for less money. And we said, hey, this is right nearby and it's less than another property that we bought. So, probably deserves taking a look at. So love the action.
You can never underestimate how important it is to have market intelligence, you guys. Knowing zip codes, knowing values, because you never know where you're going to come across another deal in that zip code. And zip codes don't change. I have over 100 zip codes memorized in Southern California simply because it helps my business. I'm not even the best with numbers, but my brother was doing that in the mortgage business and he made that comment to me. He's like, dude, like these zip codes are never going to change. We're always going to be doing business in, in some way, shape or form in real estate and mortgage at the time. And so like I took that to heart. And I've done that because like if someone tells me a certain zip code and I know the size of the house, I could almost tell an ARV and whether it's a deal within seconds. And that's super powerful in this business because you need to make decisions quickly, especially when you have hot deals that are hitting your desk.
Love it. Love it, guys. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get things kicked off, ask a couple questions to Alex, and then we're going to go ahead and get our guest host in here, our special guest, Brian Davila. This dude, as Alex mentioned, absolute legend, and we'll go ahead and introduce him here in a little bit. But before then, Alex, we just kind of want to know, what's the first step that you took to kind of find your first deal?
Well, when I first got interested in becoming a full-time real estate investor, I came across Bigger Pockets. I know I've talked about it before, but I came across that website, that podcast, and it just kept talking about like, hey, you gotta, to do this business, it is a good strategy or model to find somebody that's doing exactly what you want to do. So what I did is, I just basically found somebody that was flipping 20, 30 houses a year, and I went to go work for him. But that was like, basically, my entry. But it took me almost 3 months cold calling to get my first deal. But the number one thing that was on my mind was I know I can do this business. I just need to prove it to myself. And that was my vehicle, just cold calling for months and months and months. So don't give up, guys. I mean, somebody like myself that has real estate experience, that has a strong desire, it still took me months to get my first deal, cold calling 6-7 hours a day. So if you're cold calling 1-2 hours a day, a couple of days a week, don't expect to get a deal like your first week. Have realistic expectations on how long it might take, but that deal might make you thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's almost like you'll be making a lot of money, every single month. But then if you quit on month number 2, then you're never going to make that money.
100%. You know what, Alex, I think this is, again, kind of flows directly into our next question, and, we'll keep it quick and simple. What is your advice then for somebody who's looking to get their first deal?
Great question. We get asked this a lot. How do I find my first deal? What do I do? I think the very first thing you should do is find your target market. Right? Find out like what areas you're going to be targeting properties and opportunities, whether that's out of state, that's local, that's regional. Just what is your target market? And then you need to figure out what kind of deals really that you're looking for. Are you looking to wholesale deals? Are you looking to fix and flip? Are you looking to do some multifamily? Are you looking to do creative financing type of deals? So I think identifying that is extremely important. And then you just need to, once you have that figured out, you need to start analyzing deals like every single day and making offers. Like if you're not making offers on a weekly basis, for us it's a daily basis, you're not going to get a deal. So offer volume, it's quantity and quality. You need both. You can't make one offer a month and then expect to get a deal, but you don't need to make 10 offers a day either.
Agreed. I think if you make an offer a day, which is what we always kind of have gone back to as an offer a day, that's going to be 30 in a month. Some days you might hit a couple more than an offer a day, but one offer a day is where it starts. You have to take that action. I think that's the easiest way to start kind of, getting that first deal to come together is by submitting an offer. You're not going to get a chance if you don't take a shot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and bring on our special guest. Alex, if you don't mind making me the host real quick, and we'll go ahead and introduce Mr. Brian Davila. Alex, I know, like I mentioned, he's kind of our accountability coach and definitely something that we kind of lean into pretty regularly for things. What do you have to say about, Brian as we kind of introduce him here onto the screen?
Well, I first met Brian virtually on Instagram. I was a fan. I was like, hey, man, this guy looks like he's taking action. It's kind of funny. He's always smiling on the camera. So once I joined the Ryan Pineda Future Flipper All-Star program, the coaching program, he is one of the original people that was mentoring and coaching under Ryan Pineda. So we once I joined the program, we got into like our one-on-one phone call just because he wanted to know, hey, my story a little bit. I want to know his story a little bit. I still remember the conversation, Brian. I was in my Lake Isabella property mobile home flip, staying there for the weekend. I mean, this guy just took the gloves off, man. He was like letting me have it, but in a good way, like just like holding me accountable and just saying, hey, because he's at a higher level than me. And I'm just like, all right, cool. But like, it was more of a friendship kind of thing. And we built a bond, man. I was just talking to him right now on the side before we started. Like, I mean, I look up to him. Like, even though I'm older than him, he's just like one of my brothers, brother from another mother. So I'm really grateful to have him on and have him in my network because I could really lean on him whenever I need him. And thank you for being my friend, Brian.
I appreciate you too. So let's try to give some value right now.
Yep.
And guys, before we do get things kicked off, I'm going to just go ahead and send out a very quick poll. We're just kind of wondering what investment strategy you guys are currently going after. Are you guys, wholesaling? Are you guys looking to do fix and flips, buy and holds, Airbnbs, creative finance, BRRRRs? Let us know what it is that you guys are looking to get into investment strategy wise. And then we'll go ahead and kick off some questions here with Brian and Alex. And I'll probably ask you guys a second poll question here just a little bit later on. So let us know the answer to this when you guys do get a question. And in the meantime, both of you guys, right, had full-time jobs. And I know both of you were actually real estate agents at one point. When did you guys both kind of, make the switch and say, all right, look, I'm going full-time investing. This is it. I'm not doing the agent thing anymore.
You want to go first, Alex?
Yeah, well, for me, I had a couple of moments. First one was just a seed that was planted in my mind when I was a real estate agent in 2012 to 14. Well, actually, I'm sorry, 2010 to 14. But towards the end of that stretch, I started seeing the flipping going on. I started seeing a lot of short sales, and I saw these investors making like $100,000 a deal. And I thought to myself, like, hey, I'm on the wrong side of this transaction. But I didn't take action for some time because I started working on other things like Airbnb and then a property management. But I did always in the back of my mind think like, hey, I think I could be a really good investor, house flipper. And then in 2016, 17, right around that time, I came across Bigger Pockets. I was working in the wholesale mortgage business at that time. And then the company we had formed, I got laid off, but it was more because of the company, not because of the performance of our branch. And then I was like doing some Ubering kind of on the side. And I was miserable. I was like, man, I need to kind of start my career again, do something else. Because I don't love lending, but I love real estate. And then so that's when I found Bigger Pockets. They talked about the mentor stuff, and then I found then I went full time at that point. I'm like, this is my perfect opportunity to go full time because now I have a clean slate. It's a great time to get into real estate, and so I started working for another investor at that time.
And what about you, Brian?
I was working just as a realtor. I was doing a lot of short sales back in like 2017. And I noticed that I kept selling to investors. And I remember the very last one I sold was like, I sold it for like 220 and he ended up selling it for 405. And I was like, damn, like I just like did this short sale for this guy for like 8 months and negotiated down the second, and I like gave up some of my commission and I did all this, and he flipped it and sold it for 405. So I was like, no, I need to do what he's doing. So that's what initially sparked me wanting to be an investor.
Crazy how you can have that kind of defining moment, right? You see that big deal go through and you're like, wait, why did I give back some of my money to this guy when he's really making, all the money in the back end? So that can really be, the eye-opening moment for you. And I know, Alex, for you, same thing, kind of sitting there on the outskirts and realizing like, hey man, am I really going to do this Airbnb thing or the Uber thing for the rest of my life? Or am I going to, kind of take advantage of my own skills and make things happen? So, going on that mindset, what are some, questions that you guys are constantly getting from newbies?
I'll go first, Alex.
I'll let you take that, Brian. You talked to probably
and Brian, I know you probably talked to a lot more newbies than us as the the kind of COO of Future Flipper over there. So what are the biggest questions that you're kind of getting from newbies on a regular basis?
I would say the main two usually fall into how to find a deal bucket and then how to fund a deal. So usually people are trying to figure out, what kind of marketing they're going to do to get their first deal. And then if they have money, are they going to use hard money? And if they don't, are they going to partner, or how are they going to be able to make the most off each deal?
Yeah. And I think what I will add to that is I get a lot of questions around the fact of like people that are working full-time jobs, they're doing other things in their life, and then they want to be in the game, they want to be in the business, but they just don't know how, because maybe it's not the money. They have a little bit of money saved up, but then they don't really have a lot of time. Their full-time gig, takes all their bandwidth. And so they're just like, oh, do I do out of state investing and kind of more passive because I don't have the time? Or they're just really trying to figure it out. And they're reaching out to me. They see that I'm, doing multiple properties, things like that. So I try to give them advice, but at the same time, like, I'm not in their situation. So I just really try to custom tailor my advice based on what I think I would do if I were them. But just like with Brian, and the reason I get along so well with him, because we just don't sugarcoat shit. I mean, just like, hey, this is what it is. Like, we poke holes in people's mindsets because we've been there many times. So then we're able to see through like their limiting beliefs more, and then just give them advice on, hey, if I were you, I'd be thinking like this. If I were you, I'd try this idea. But just go out there and take action though, and then figure it out. Because people, once they take action, they end up having different questions. And I've talked about this before. I can really tell what people are at based on their questions. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. There's going to be the rookie question, which is like, hey, how do I do something basic, something general? And then there's going to be that, hey, I've actually taken some action and I need help getting past this roadblock. Like, I have some specific thing. I made the phone calls, but I figured out, Alex, I can only dial one person at a time. Like, do I really have to dial this 10,000 person list that I bought one at a time? And that's where like, okay, this person took the action. They've actually dialed. They've actually figured out, hey, I need a dialer. I can definitely help that person out. It's hey, let's get you a dialer. Let's see if this can speed things up.
Yeah, and let me add one more thing. And I'm more likely to answer your question when it's a question based off action you've already taken. But when it's like a brand new question, I could tell it's like you haven't done shit, I'm less likely to answer that DM. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like, you have to at least take that first step yourself. So great feedback, guys. I think for all the newbies that are on the call, and even for some of the more experienced investors that are probably getting asked these questions as well, they're very appreciative. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys have both had to overcome? And Brian, we'll kind of start off with you. I know you've probably seen some different challenges, working in a couple of different markets. What have you done to kind of overcome those?
Like general challenges or challenges getting a deal, or what do you mean?
Yeah. So if you're just getting started and you're a new investor, like what were some of those kind of initial challenges that you had to kind of get over and get through?
So I was doing short sales for a while. So I can't act like I wanted to start flipping houses in 2018 and then I just started the same year. So I thought about it for at least a year before I actually like took action and bought my first house. So for me, my initial challenge was like, I was like, oh dude, I don't know what color am I gonna paint the house? Like how, like, I don't know. Or like how much do cabinets cost? Like how much do hard money lenders charge? Like instead of like calling a hard money lender, I would just be like thinking like, fuck, I wonder like, what if it needs a new roof? How much does a roof cost? So I would like slowly be asking other investors questions. And then finally, I just was like, you know what? I said this on the call today. I think I was like, dude, I'm rather gonna file bankruptcy or I'm gonna become a millionaire. I'm gonna just try it, and if it doesn't work, then oh well. And I bought my first house, and I bought a very light rehab, and it was like in Moreno Valley. It was like 1,200 square foot, and the guy charged me $15,000 to paint the house. But I didn't know any better. So I'm like, okay, it only needs paint. It's $15,000. I still have profit. And I sold it and made a profit. Yeah. So I think eventually like you just have to like commit to making it happen and then figure out the rest of the questions later.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Well, for me, it was a couple things. I want to say it was like in stages, because your biggest challenge changes based on where you are in the journey, right? And so like at the beginning, my biggest challenge was believing that
Guys, are you able to still see Alex and Brian, or did they kind of both freeze on your end? Okay, it looks like it might just be me on here. It looks like they must have both frozen out. So we'll get our panelists back in here in a second. We'll get Brian and Alex back on. Looks like there goes Brian falling off, and there goes Alex. So apologies for the technical difficulties, guys. I think they are both in the same office right now out in Chino, so they might have just had a little internet issue, and we'll get them back in here shortly and kind of jump back into some more rookie questions. Here's Brian jumping in now. And looks like there's Alex as well.
Yeah, sorry guys, I got cut out there. What's the last thing you heard?
We were just kind of hearing you just getting into some of the challenges you've kind of had to overcome.
Yeah, so the first challenge I had to overcome was the belief that I could do the business and get deals. I did that after 3 months. Once that was done, I was working for an investor and I started to see the numbers, how much money I was making him. So the next challenge was more like, damn, I'm getting this guy rich. Like how long can I do this? Because I was making only $2,500 a deal. So it was like, this guy's making 100 grand, I'm making 2,500. Like, think about your mindset on that. Like, it was really hard to come to work motivated every day because I'm, not making a lot of money, and I'm doing Uber on the side because, and people that, my friends were like, I was like ashamed to even tell my friends what I was doing because I wasn't making any money. And so anyways, that was another challenge to, eventually like leave that position, know when to leave that position because I had outgrown that company. And then when I went and go work for my second mentors, I was learning a lot more. I was doing more deals and I was making more money, but I also outgrew them. And then there was a lot of internal conflict in that company. There was a lot of nepotism. And so as much as I respected the owners and whatnot, I was having trouble, like, because I was making more money and I was in the game I love, but like, I wasn't happy working with the people I was working with. And I didn't see like it going in a positive direction. It was kind of hostile. And it was just a lot going on there, bad culture. So I left at ideal time. So that was the other challenge. And then once I was on my own, the next two challenges were, one was like, okay, I saved enough money to do deals on my own, but you think you're going to be cool with investing in your own money until it comes time to do that. And then you're hit with the fact that like, hey, I saved all this money and now I got to put it back into the, risk it. Right. And so I was like, I was scared. I remember I saved up like $150,000. And then literally within that couple of like a month or two of having that money and saving that money from a couple of big deals, I had a big month. I had two big monster deals that were great deals that like I had to put almost all that money back into the tape, like right back into the pot, like after working 3 years plus to save that much money. And then I had to put it right back in within 30 days. That was really, really tough. I almost didn't do that, but then I almost doubled that money from those two acquisitions. And then after that, the biggest challenge has been the team building because I'm not a natural leader. I like to go to get the deals myself. I'm a hunter. I think this leadership is difficult. I don't find it to be natural for me. So I've had to kind of really work on that. And then I settled for some very, average, team members at the beginning because like I was just excited to have my own thing going and I was just kind of bringing anybody on. But then it was super challenging to get rid of them because I knew they weren't a good fit. But I got to care for them and they're kind of like family. We're working tight, but they just weren't good fit for my business. And, and that was really challenging, having to let go of people that I thought were cool people, but just, they weren't good fits for business. So I would say those were my top challenges, but they change, you guys. Your challenges will change as you evolve.
I love that. And I think the first part you mentioned, Alex, about the mindset, you have to actually believe that you can do a deal, that you can get a deal, that you can take a deal to the end and to the finish line. If you don't have that belief, it's going to be really, really hard to actually have that happen. So I couldn't agree with you more. Mindset. If you don't have that mindset, it's going to be a tough sledding from there on up. So at this point, guys, I do want to add in another poll real quick. We just want to kind of get an idea of what level investor you are. So if you're a newbie, go ahead and let us know. If you're more of an intermediate investor, let us know. If you're advanced, go ahead and put that in there. And full-time, if you are full-time putting all of your time into real estate investing, if this is your number one gig, go ahead and let us know as well. That way we can get a little bit better of an idea of who's in here. So big question, kind of looking at the chart there is, Alex and Brian, when do you start to get coaching? Like when you're a newbie, when you're intermediate, when you're advanced, like when is a good time to get coaching? And we'll start with Brian again,
Okay.
Knowing that you're kind of the COO over there of
Yeah.
Ryan's coaching empire.
Yeah.
When do you think a good time is for people to kind of look into this?
Um, so first, I was kind of tripping out when I was listening to you talk just now about mindset, and like how people are sitting here listening to us like talk. Like, I just want to make clear, like, I am not special in any type of way. I am not smarter than anyone on this Zoom call. Literally. If like you guys only knew, like obviously, like I dropped out of high school. I was addicted to drugs. I had my first kid when I was 19 years old. You know, I grew up single mom. I worked 2 jobs. I was working graveyard and working cleaning up bars, working at Pizza Hut. So when you're talking about believing in it, like that is so true. And it made me start tripping out. But I wanted just to like let you guys all know that because sometimes I'll look at people like we were on a call with a multifamily guy and he's like, yeah, I have 200 doors. And I'm like, wow, like he is so smart. Like, how is he able to do that? Like, I can't do that. Like, I caught myself thinking that way, but that's not the reality. Like, anyone on this call can do what I'm doing, what Alex is doing, what Will's doing. We're not anything different than you guys, but you just have to like start off by believing that you could do it. If you don't believe you could do it, you're not going to do it. Right. It's just, it sounds so cheesy, but like it's so true. So I was literally freaking out in my mind. I'm like, holy crap. Like that's so true. I haven't thought about that because I don't think like that anymore. But before I would always think like that. If I saw someone with like a pickup truck, like there's a Silverado, I would think, wow, that person's rich. I have a Dodge Intrepid that I bought for $1,500. That's always breaking down. They're rich. I can't do what they're doing. But then, you know, things change and it's crazy. But your question was about coaching. So I
Do you
would
think
start.
coaching maybe helped you get to that point where you were able to have that mind shift happen? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I know for me personally, Brian, like you're our accountability coach, and man, when we're in the accountability calls, like that's all the motivation I need right there. I'm like, hey man, there's 4 or 5 other real big time leaders in this room,
Mhm.
and they're able to take this kind of action. Like, what holds me back from doing it? Like, you know, Alex is a smart guy, Brian's a smart guy, but you
Yeah.
know, if they're able to do this kind of stuff, I am too, and I think coaching is a big part of that. So,
Yeah.
you know, when do you think people need to get that coaching?
So when I first joined real estate, when I first became a realtor, right? I had no idea about nothing. Like obviously high school dropout, blah 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 blah. I just told you all that. Like I didn't even know how to tie a tie. I remember I was on YouTube and I'm like, okay, like how do I tie this? Like, you know what I mean? Like this is kind of weird. And my first broker, he just he pretty much told me like, hey, listen, get on the phones, talk to sellers, and help them sell their house. Don't overcomplicate it. And I was like, okay. So without him, I would definitely not be here. So I pretty much like started off getting coached by day one. I just didn't know it was coaching. But I knew before I joined a brokerage, I remember thinking, I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about real estate. Like, how the hell am I going to make this work? I literally know nothing. Like, I was freaking poor. So like, I'm like, how the hell am I gonna make this work? And then I went on Zillow. I saw a successful realtor and I walked into his office and I was like, hey, like I want to work for you. He didn't know me and I did not know him. I was like, hey, I want to work for you. I just whatever you tell me to do, I'll just do it. And I don't care. Like I didn't know about splits. I didn't know about anything. So I believe that coaching is everything. I'll pay for coaching for the rest of my life. Like I don't think I know everything. And I think if you think you know everything, then you're ignorant. And yeah, so I really, really believe in coaching. And not because I'm a coach, because I didn't even want to be a coach. So Ryan had to convince me to start doing it. But I paid for coaching this year. I have other coaches. I get coached by Ryan. I have a nutritionist. I could be like, oh, I'm not going to hire a nutritionist because I know I need to drink water. Like, no, like coaching is everything.
Yeah,
And guys, I think everybody appreciated your vulnerability there, Brian, and your story. I know a couple of people in chat, myself included, also learned how to tie their tie on the old YouTube channel. So, you know, a lot of people are resonating with you. Alex, what about you, man? Like, what do you think about coaching?
Well, I kind of see things a little bit differently than Brian. Not much, but more so on the fact that I'm just not a fan of newbies getting coaching and then they're not ready to take action either, because then I feel like it's gonna be overwhelming. But at the same time, if it's gonna help you be part of a community, it's gonna be help you get inspiration, it's gonna help you take action. Then I'm a total fan of newbies starting with coaching, because that for me is the X factor. If you're just gonna learn more, you can learn a lot on YouTube. There's no need for you to pay for coaching. But if you pay for coaching and then it pushes you to take action because it isn't cheap, then I mean, I'm all for it. Also, I think there's different level of coaching, like Brian was saying, like, right. I started working in the coaching or with Brian because he was doing more than me. And even though I was doing something pretty positive, I was already making money. I already had my own company, and he's younger than me, but this guy's crushing it and I respect him. And then I got to know him at a mastermind. So when he approached me to do the coaching, it just made sense. Like, okay, this guy can clearly help me get to the next level a lot faster than me doing it on my own. So it was kind of a no brainer. But a lot of times we just feel like Brian said, we just kind of know it all, or we know enough to like be successful. And that's true. Like if you can figure it out, but think about the opportunity cost of, waiting an additional 6 months to learn something that you could learn within the next 30 days that will make the next 6 months way more profitable for you. So what is that worth to you? Because time is really our most valuable asset. If me getting coaching is going to help me shorten the learning curve and then help me make a lot more money, then I'm going to do that. And like Brian said as well, that I'm going to get coaching too, probably for the rest of my life in some way, shape, or form, some area of my life, because I don't know it all. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. And so you just got to kind of have that humility and say, hey, there's people out there that are doing what I want to do, and they're going to charge me. They're not going to give it to me for free. And if they gave it to me for free, I'm unlikely to take action because it's free. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. And then as far as me doing some coaching here and there, I only want to coach people that are very driven, that people know what they want. At the beginning, when Will started working with me, it was more kind of a mentor-mentee situation, but he clearly stood above the rest. And then he was very coachable. So I think you need to also be coachable. Otherwise, you're going to walk into a situation like, oh, I already knew that, or I kind of knew that. Well, what the coaching is doing is filling in all the blind spots that you have. You don't even know what they are. So when you get coaching, then you filled in those blind spots and now you know more. It's like you don't know what you don't know. So that's the way I feel about coaching.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between YouTube and coaching. So, or courses and coaching. So courses is you sit there and you watch and you learn. Coaching is like, hey, Brian, I'm thinking about this. And I could like quickly answer it and kind of like push you in the right direction or shut down whatever you're thinking. Cause I'm like, hey, like I've already thought that before. And this is why it's not going to work, XYZ. And then instead of you being like, oh, I think this is going to work, I'm going to try this for 2 months. You know what I mean? Or I seen this on YouTube, so I think this would work here. And a coach would be like, hey, that's not going to work because I already tried that. And this is what's going to end up happening. So I think coaching and like YouTube or courses are like completely different.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll kind of add to that, and you guys both kind of alluded to it, is you guys both also receive coaching. So, I mean, like there is levels to it. I think the top coach probably coaches the next guy down and the next guy down and the next guy down and the next guy down. And so, when you get coaching down here at the bottom level, you're kind of reaping the rewards of all of those other different coaching platforms that your mentor has gone through. I know Ryan Pineda has been in Collective Genius, some of the biggest masterminds that are out there, he's invited to and is a part of these. And, he's able to kind of pass down some of those tidbits along to us. And that's a benefit of him being our coach, right? So there is levels to it. And I think, Brian, you kind of mentioned that beginning, that there's different levels of coaching and different levels that you can acquire based on what point of your career you're in. So great insight there, guys. Let's kind of shift into some of your rookie mistakes. So Alex, and we'll start with you, Brian. What is a rookie mistake that you might have made along the way that somebody else in this room listening along might want to avoid?
So I'll go over my mistake that I just made the other day. So excuse my language, but I was being a little bitch. Someone sent me a deal in Fullerton, and I had the funds to buy the deal. But I was like, I don't really know the market. Like, I don't know. It's 500,000. And I ended up wholesaling it and making like, let's just say like 10 grand. And then the other person who ended up buying that deal just sold it for 765. So purchase around 510, 520, and they sold it for 765, and they didn't even rehab the kitchen. They didn't even rehab the bathrooms. And that to me is a huge mistake. And it's going to happen to everyone on this call. You're going to pass on deals that you were like, I should buy this deal, but I'm not because I don't know. You're going to see someone else pick up that deal, freaking slam dunk it, and then you're going to be like, damn, like I just messed up. Right. So to me, that's a $200,000 loss because he made somewhere around 200, let's say 190. He made around $190,000. And it's my fault. So that's a mistake that all of us it's gonna happen to all of us, where you're gonna see deals that you had right in your hand and you're like, no, I'm gonna wait for a better deal. And then you see someone else just freaking punt the shit out of it and make 200 grand. So yeah.
I have a couple of stories about that too, actually quick ones, but one of them was similar. It was this deal we got on direct mail. I remember picking up the call. I mean, it was only like my second year. And I didn't have that much experience with, inbound calls. But the lady sounded very motivated. She was in South LA. And the property, she says, oh, well, I'll take 200 to 250 for it. And 250 worked. 200 was even better, but 250, like it worked. It was ARV was like 400, 450, something like that. I don't remember, but it was definitely a deal at 250. And so I'm going to do my numbers and then see if I can negotiate. And I can just say, maybe I can get it at 215, 220 and get this monster deal. Now keep in mind, at that time, I was only making 10% because I was working for the other mentors. So I was only getting 10% of what we made. So I'm trying to maximize my spread because I'm only making 10%. So I called the lady back and I'm like, hey, so yeah, we can offer like 220, or it was 220, 225. And she was like, okay, I'll consider, I'll talk to you soon. And then I follow up in a couple of days. She's like, no, we want another offer. I'm like, but you said you'd take 200, 250. She's like, yeah, I got 250 for it. I'm like, oh man. And this is the worst thing about it. This investor ended up selling for like 425, 430. And it was on the main street of an area that I passed by all the time. So I would drive by the fucking house, excuse my language, like literally like every week, a couple of times, and it would just continue to just burn. It was just hard to like digest because I couldn't avoid seeing that house on a regular basis. And I literally lost. I mean, I think they made, I don't know, $70,000, $80,000. So that's like, $7,000, $8,000 that I lost because I was greedy. So I guess that's kind of the, what Brian was just saying. That Brian was saying that if you pass on deals, make sure you're passing for a good reason, because oftentimes when you're newer or even when you're seasoned, like, Brian, it's like we pass on deals that really make sense, but we're just like unsure or whatever that is. So yeah, so that's one. And then another big mistake that I think I made when I was early on is that I kind of didn't understand that there was other ways to structure deals opposed to just like the standard working for somebody else. So I wish I would have kind of learned that a little bit early on how to structure deals, because so much of this business is deal structure. It's first deal finding, but then deal structure is right behind that, because you can get a lot more per deal. I'm not telling you to be greedy on that side of things, but if you understand how you can structure the deal in a way that it's a win for the money partner and a win for you as a deal finder, there's just a lot of more win-wins than you expect. And I didn't realize that until 2-3 years in, when really I could have been JVing, I could have been partnering up way sooner.
Those are great tips, guys. Again, I think for a rookie investor, knowing that you're going to make mistakes and still be able to bounce back from it, that's huge. And thinking back on some deals that you guys have actually seen that happen to, again, Davila, like you said, just recently seeing that's something that our VA tracks on our end, so that we're able to see, hey, if we made an offer on a property and it sells for something else and we don't get the deal, we're able to kind of craft our next offer knowing like, okay, we missed out by just this much. Because, Alex, we've talked about it before, like you kick yourself when you miss out on a deal over a couple of $1,000. And Brian, you mentioned it on yours. It was just a couple of $1,000 on a wholesale deal that ended up being a $200,000 mega home run. So when you guys started off, again, think back to your beginning days. What were some of your rookie mistakes that you made when you were first analyzing a deal? Like foundation, roof, major systems. Like what were some of those kind of red flags that might have come back to bite you on a deal? And Alex, we can kind of start with you if you have any that kind of come to mind.
Yeah, one comes to mind. One of the things that you overlook is that the heavy rehabs. When you're new in the business, it is, unless you have construction experience, it is really hard to estimate a heavy rehab. Something I'm talking about in California, like 70,000, 80,000 or more, because those type of like rehabs can run away from you. So I remember one of the deals that lost money. It lost over $100,000, and I lost over $10,000 because like I was 10% profit or loss was my agreement. So I lost money because it was a heavy rehab. I was I wanted just to buy deals. I didn't really like the deal myself. I wouldn't have put my money into this type of deal, but then they were willing to buy it. So I was like, all right, cool. It's their money. Let's go. But then ended up losing a ton of money because there was a huge illegal addition that was unpermitted, but it was kind of like part of the house. So it wasn't like your normal kind of maybe converted garage, or maybe it's like a patio enclosed that now it's turned into a room. No, it was like half of the house was illegal. And I knew that would probably be a problem if we got caught by the city, because then we'll have to legalize it. But I didn't know that much about that. So it was like, okay, cool. We're just buying another deal, heavy rehab, it should work out. And so I think it's easy to make mistakes on estimating rehabs that are heavy. So I definitely think that's something I had an area that I missed out on or kind of overlooked. Also, I think when it comes to like ARV, I was a little bit conservative because I wasn't good at running comps at the beginning, like really analyzing comps for what my true exit value is or my true ARV. That was something that was hard to really, and I was an agent before, but evaluating a property as an agent is different than evaluating property as an investor, because as an agent, you don't really have anything on the line other than your time, which is still valuable, but you don't have any money. Like you could always list a property super high, and if it doesn't work out, you could just drop the price. But as an investor, if you don't get your ARV, you could lose money or make nothing and work for free. So I think that was a big one that it took me time to understand how to analyze deals as an investor and not be too aggressive, but then also not be too conservative where my offer is not going to be considered because it's so conservative.
Brian, what about you? Any kind of rookie mistakes that you might have overlooked when analyzing your first couple of deals?
Yeah, so for sure, I've always been super conservative. So in the beginning, I was like even more conservative. And in the beginning, I would always underestimate the rehab cost, like on every single deal. I was like, man, if I could do this rehab for 20K, like this is the deal. But I was just pulling that 20K out of nowhere. Like I didn't even get a bid. I'm like, I'll just lipstick it. I won't go heavy on it. I'll ask for a discount. And then it ends up being like a 35K rehab. And I was just like, I kept doing that over and over and over again. But the market was appreciating at that time when I first started. So I was like, okay, like I'm making money. Like, I keep making money, so it works. But yeah, like I would rather be way too conservative on the ARV, or I would underestimate the rehab. So now I always like, if I think the rehab's going to be 30K, I'm like, it's probably going to be like 37.
Yeah.
I know we do the same thing on our end. There's the fudge, and you want to make sure you're on the high end of that because you don't want to let that rehab get away. And Alex, you mentioned it on the bigger rehabs. Those rehabs can get out of control pretty quickly. That $5,000 bathroom becomes an $8,000 bathroom, and there's three of them. The piping needs to get redone, and it's a 1,800 square foot home. All that stuff kind of adds up, and even if a part of the house is not even permitted, that can add up pretty quickly as well. So
yeah, and that made me think of an amazing book that I highly recommend that I read twice, and I have a bunch of notes on, called Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. She's a professional poker player, and man, that's such an incredible book, because it discusses how there's a difference between you making a decision and you being unlucky, and then there's you actually making a decision and then not being unlucky and it just didn't turn out. So like you really have to identify your decision-making process more than whether that thing worked out or not, because so many times we associate the results of the decision to like whether it was a good decision or not. But sometimes we just get unlucky. You just have to understand that difference. So like Brian was saying, like he was just getting lucky because of the market, but he was not making good decisions. But then now in hindsight, he can go back and be like, hey, I was making poor decisions. How can I make it better? Because I'm not going to get that lucky all the time.
Yeah. And I've lost deals because I was like I've lost on deals because I was underestimating the rehab. And one of the biggest deals that I've lost on, like actually lost money, was because I bought a house on a busy street, but it was on a corner. So you could actually like come in to the side and, park on the side. I flipped that house. I made money. And then there was another house, like it was like right across the street, like 5 doors up, but it wasn't on a corner. So you couldn't even really park in front of the house. You know what I mean? You would have to come into the driveway. There was only room for like one car. But I was like, okay, well, I just sold this house for $350. So I could probably sell this house for $350 also. And that wasn't the case. It ended up selling for like $320 because it was just like, it just was so busy right there. And there was no parking that buyers were just like not having it. So that was another like thing that I underestimated when I first started.
those are big time, guys. I shared the book that Alex mentioned by Annie Duke. Again, I think that's a great way to look at it, Alex. Are you betting with your money, house money? Are you betting on a mistake, on a chance? Like that really can kind of define your process and your strategy. So what about people that have full-time jobs? Like how do you get involved in real estate if you have a full-time job?
Before I answer that, I'm going to put one more book in there by Howard Marks. Another book I read, these two books I read through and I devoured during COVID because I just felt decision-making was so important. And then also Howard Marks, let's put it to you this way, Warren Buffett, which I'm sure a lot of you know, anytime this guy posts memos on his website to his shareholders, I mean, Warren Buffett is reading this guy's stuff. And he wrote this fantastic book called Mastering the Market Cycle. And then another book, I don't remember the name, but anything by Howard Marks and they're not talking about real estate investing. It's just decision making. And as investors, we make a lot of decisions. So I just wanted to kind of highlight those two books before I forget.
I think people do appreciate it. And Brian just bought it. I just bought it too right now on the spot while you were talking. I'm kidding, but those are great suggestions. Diving back in, guys, if somebody does have a full-time job, how do you get involved? How do you get started in real estate? Like what's that look like, going from a full-time job to a rookie investor, or to even getting things started and hitting a roll?
Just be obsessed. Like, I mean, it's like your full-time job is just paying the bills. Just see it for what it is. Okay, I'm paying my bills with this, but then to get ahead in life, I need to do this. And don't be like trying to half-ass it 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week. You got two full-time jobs because eventually one is going to replace the other. But if you don't treat it that way, then it's going to be really hard to succeed because you're dealing with a lot of competition. You're dealing with difficult industry. You're dealing with learning a lot. So how are you going to do all that in 5-10 hours a week? So just have really strict schedule and then time block it and just sacrifice. Like, you got to sacrifice for some time. For some time, I didn't go out. I didn't travel. I didn't do any extra expenditures. I just drove average car. I lived in an average place. Like, I see too many people just having high expenses and not really thinking like an investor and sacrificing so they can eventually do it full time, because it's such a rewarding business when you're doing it full time and you got the right team. Right, Brian? I mean, this is a fun business. It's stressful, but I mean, where else can you make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and not be a doctor, or lawyer, or some rocket scientist? So you guys, you got to treat it super serious. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And I think doctors, like I was at the dentist the other day and they work way harder than us. Like if you go to the dentist's office, they're like, all right, do you, then they're out. And then they go to the next person and then they're out. Like we're kind of like lollygagging, like going throughout the day. But when I first quit my job, I saved up enough money and then I just quit and just went all in. So I didn't try to do both at the same time. I was just like, I had like 5 grand and I'm like, okay, like, and then I got my real estate license and I quit one job immediately. And then I started like, coming to the office. And I think before I even closed my first deal, I was like, okay, I have like 5 grand. I'm going to quit and I'm just going to go all in. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to go live with my mom and figure it out. So even when I moved to California from Las Vegas, I'm from Vegas. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to California. If I freaking fail, I'll go live with my mom. I'll figure it out. Like it's all in or not. And I moved over here. I didn't even have a real estate license. So because for my wife, which is so stupid. But yeah, like I just went all in. So I didn't really try to like juggle both.
Incredible answers, guys. If you don't mind in the chat, let us know if you have a full-time job outside of real estate, just so that we know. We'd love to kind of hear from you so that, we can get a little bit more insight from you. Guys, if you do have a full-time job, and Alex and Brian, we want to hear from you. What if you're at like that point where you just have stage fright and you're like, dude, how do I make this jump? Like what was that minute like for you when you were like, all right, I'm quitting job one, Brian. I'm walking out the door, the pizza delivery job. It's no more. I'm done. I'm going to the office. Like how did that look like when you were there? Did you have stage fright and how'd you get through it?
So I remember I had this my teacher at the school, at the real estate school. He was like, if you eat like cheap food, you're gonna feel like shit. If you're always cheap, like pretty much like the whole thing was like, if you're always cheap, you're always gonna get cheap results. Like eventually, you got to change your thinking. If you know what I mean, your thinking got you to where you're at. I was like, dude, this makes so much sense. Like I was just like, I was all in. I'm like, holy crap, like this guy's a genius. And then he was just like, if you drive a cheap car, you're going to feel like shit because you have a cheap car. And I had a piece of shit car. And I was so inspired. I literally walked out of class and I went and got a BMW. Before I even sold a house, I swear to God, I left the class and I went and got a BMW because I'm like, all right, I'm going to be a realtor. So I need to have a BMW because he was talking about nice cars and stuff. So I went and got my BMW and I was like on level 10 because my car, my Dodge Intrepid, I don't know if you guys want to Google what that looks like, but it was not nice. That shit used to smoke. I remember sometimes it would just turn off when I was at the freaking light. I'd be like, damn. And then I got to go to the gas station, get some coolant. And yeah, it was rough. So he gave me that speech. I got my BMW. I quit one job because I was like, I was working graveyard 10 to 6. And then I would work from like 10 to 7 in the daytime. And I was like, I can't do it. Like, there's no time to sleep. I had my son. I was like, I can't do this. So then, yeah, my teacher.
I think I found some live footage of your Intrepid. Was this yours on the side of the road the other day?
Mine was gold.
Okay, you had the gold one. So
yeah, I had the gold ones. But yeah, I was just so tired of, dude, my old job, like I used to have to ask to use the restroom. I used to clean up bars when people weren't there. So I would be from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. cleaning up bars, asking to use the restroom. Like I was just like, it sucked. Like it just fucking sucked. Like that's the reality. So I was just like so motivated just by life sucking that I was like, I don't care. Like I'm gonna try this. This guy said it's gonna work. I'm gonna try it. And I had bad credit. So I don't know why I got that BMW, but I had like really high payments because I had high credit. I forgot about that. But yeah, so I was just all fed up. I don't even know what the question was, but yeah, that was
I forgot the question too. What was it, Will? Because that was such a good story. It was
We were wondering about the stage fright when you were jumping in, and I think Brian just nailed the broke agent. If you follow the Instagram account, it's like goes and buys a BMW before they sell their first house. Like
Yeah.
that was Davila right here,
Yeah.
live in the flesh. What about you, Alex? Like, did you have any stage fright when you were making the switch from full-time Uber driver over to investing, or were you kind of still thinking like, hey, this might be good for me?
Well, I was still working for Uber while I was working for the first investor. And then when I went to work for the second company, I had saved enough money. I didn't really have to do the Uber thing anymore. But then when I went off to do my own thing in year number 3, that's when I got the stage fright, because as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I had done everything to save this money and I just wanted to hoard this cash. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good again, because I'd lost everything during the recession. So it took me some time to kind of climb my way out of that big hole I dug myself. And then these deals popped up and I was just like, oh man, this is like what you've been wanting, Alex. You've been saying you want to be a full-time investor. This is what it takes. Grab your cojones and buy that house. And so, yeah, but I consulted with my family, I consulted with people I trust, and at that point, I had the support and it helped a lot with that. And that's why having a supportive network, whether that be your family or friends, other colleagues, other investors, is extremely important, because it helps you have confidence in those times you're doubting yourself.
Huge. So Alex, Brian, if somebody is starting today, like if somebody on this call were just like, all right, I'm so motivated, I'm walking out of the class, I'm ready to go, I'm quitting my job, I'm getting rid of my W-2, what would you suggest that they did for the next 3 to 6 months? Like where would you start, and what would that look like?
What would you say, Alex?
Well, first and foremost, it's just, you got to get your goals right. Like, what's your goal with this whole thing? Where do you want to be at in this next 6 months, a year? For me, it was just like, I want to be a full-time real estate investor. It was kind of that simple, but just what is the goal? Then I'd work on like the mindset. Okay, just, we're reading some good books, just reading something, just, having that belief. And then just having really control of your time, right? Just making sure that like you have a good schedule to just execute, because we all have these grand visions of who we could be and all that good stuff. But where does that happen? In the day-to-day, minute-by-minute actions that you take every day. So if you don't have control of your schedule, then you're not going to, be successful. And then just get yourself around other people that are doing it. And so that way you can get inspired and get those little tips and tricks. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I would say if I was starting off, I would honestly join the rookie program that I do with Ryan Pineda, because it is, you do get 2 calls a week. You're not going to have to like figure it out on your own. You're going to be on a Facebook group. There's people doing deals together. So besides joining the coaching, I would, like you said, surround yourself with people who really want to do it. And I would really look for a mentor or a coach. I won't mention coaching. Let's just say I would find a mentor who you could just like ask questions, because it's really hard, I think, to figure it out on your own. Even like I'm trying to figure out the multifamily thing. I had to talk to someone. I can't just go on YouTube and just watch videos on multifamily. It's not the same. So I would try to find a mentor or try to find someone that knows what they're doing and try to go work for them. You know what I mean? I don't mentor people. So I coach people in the rookie program, but that's about it. I don't like one-on-one mentor people. So that's what I would do. I'd try to find a mentor or join the coaching. And you have to have faith. You have to have sales skills. This is a sales business. This is not like a analyzer business. You're going to have to talk to people. If you're introverted, you're going to have to move past that. There's no way around this business. This is a sales and marketing business. So if you're not good at sales, you have to start working on your sales skills.
I think those are great starting points. And guys, I know Brian put it in earlier, but I just retweeted it, I guess you'd call it, in the chat. But that's Brian's IG, and he put his cell phone number in here as well. So if you guys did have any questions about getting started with coaching, how that would look, what that would kind of do for you in your real estate career, Brian is a great resource to get in touch with. And I believe, Brian, we're going to have a discount code if anybody in the webinar does want to join up and kind of start up with Ryan's coaching program. I believe we're going to be able to get you guys a 30% discount on any of those kind of coaching platforms and programs. The rookie program, you know, obviously Brian is a coach in that, and I think it is a great resource for beginning investors. So if any of you guys on the call, and I know we had a good number of people from the poll that identified as a newbie, you know, you might want to go check out Future Flipper and just kind of give it a whirl and see if there's anything on there that kind of catches your eye.
Yeah, I would say check out the website and then use Alex's promo code because it's like 4,000 for a year of coaching, but with Alex's you get 30% off. And like, I'll be super brutally honest, do not call me and ask me about the coaching. Like it's 2 Zoom calls a week for a whole year. We give you all the contracts, we give you the numbers analyzer. You get like videos to watch that will break down the coaching. I'm not gonna like get on the phone and sell you on the coaching. So
you guys can hit me up because Brian's much busier than me.
Yeah.
I don't mind it as long as you're an action taker. I'm happy to jump on the phone with you, but also at the same time, that's why I set up a half an hour coaching call, you know, that you guys pay for sometimes if you wanted to get me on the phone or on a Zoom call for half an hour, because I don't want to waste my time with someone that's not going to take action or really wants to get started.
All right.
And guys, we are going to have our winner from the YouTube contest. Whoever went and liked and commented on Alex's YouTube page, we are going to announce the winner of that via Facebook. We're going to close that contest up today. So if you haven't done it yet, by the end of the day, just go like and comment on one of the YouTube videos on Alex Camacho TV. We're going to go ahead and pick somebody for a complimentary 30-minute coaching call. You heard it here, guys. I don't think Brian needs to sell the rookie program that much. I know I just looking around the room, I see a couple people in here already that are members of the rookie coaching platform. And so if you guys do have any questions on it, feel free to reach out in the tribe, you know, in the Facebook group, ask people, hey, is anybody, you know, currently doing this? Anybody have any feedback? Alex and I are happy to provide some feedback on it as well. Shoot either one of us a DM and say, hey, what do you guys think of the coaching? You know, you'll hear nothing but rave reviews from us. I think Ryan and Brian are both incredible coaches and definitely worth you guys giving a shot if you're thinking about going that route.
Sure.
Anybody have any questions, any big wins, any thing they need this week that we can kind of help out with before we kind of end the call and kick things off for next week?
Yeah, I'll speak. Hi, everybody. Allison from New York City. I had posted in our Facebook group that I had got a list from Edward, so props Edward. And I took the leap and cold called the first guy on the list who happened to be a longtime investor. Thank you. I appreciate that, Will. And, you know, so I'd asked him about the property on the list. He says he's not selling that one, but he has other properties he's willing to sell. So I spoke with him. I'm like, okay, can you send me the properties? And also shout out to Alex, because I during the cold calling that you did, I kept listening to it. I recorded it so I can hear it in my mind and say, okay, this is what I say and do that. So I did exactly that. And like everything worked out. The guy sent me 4 properties. I posted it on our Facebook group. I posted it on Bigger Pockets, which I got flooded with responses. So I'm at the point where I think I might have a buyer for his 4 properties, but I'm not sure about how to bridge the negotiations between the 2 gentlemen. So I'm open to any advice about how I exactly handle that. And obviously I'm not a wholesaler. This wasn't my intent. I'm more of a wanting to like buy and hold, but it came to me. So I'm just not sure what to do with it, but I'm trying to work it out.
Why would you not lock up the deal and then trying to wholesale it then?
I don't know. I never, when I started, my whole thing was like, oh, buy and hold. I never thought of wholesaling. So honestly, all my education has been focused on that. I don't really know anything about wholesale.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I would look at it pretty similarly. You know, even if you're buying and holding on a BRRRR, you still have to get the property under contract. And then just instead of you deciding to execute on the contract, you're going to say, hey, this isn't a BRRRR. This doesn't fit my strategy. It fits somebody else. Let me go ahead and assign that over to that person. Alex and I, we don't buy burrs unless it fits our burr category, unless it fits that criteria. We don't buy and holds unless it fits that criteria. So if it doesn't fit your criteria, just assign it to somebody else. But get it under contract first, like Alex said. Have him sign an agreement that says, for the next 30 days, you have time to go inspect the property and assign the property if you need to during that time.
But do I need to put money down for that to happen? Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not exactly sure what the process is.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm sure Brian could give some feedback too, but I think it's these opportunities don't come up often. So like, you really got to make sure that you're on point with this. So I'm happy to jump on the call and kind of help you out and not mess up, and do what you need to do from this step out, because you can lose this opportunity quickly if you don't take the right steps going forward. So I think we'd have to get on a Zoom call offline just so I could help you. Did Blake get back to you about the evaluation of the property?
No, I did not hear from him. No, I was waiting.
I'll get on him about that today as well then. And he's an appraiser in Jacksonville, and the properties are in Jacksonville. So I'm like, bro, like, can you help us out here? Like, and he's my boy, so I'm like, okay, so I'll get on him today, and then we can get on a separate Zoom call tonight to just discuss, because if I do it in front of the group, it's just going to take too long.
All right. Appreciate that.
I don't know if it helps. I have a big agent friend in Miami. They might know people out there too. If you need any more resources, let me know and I can try to reach out and see how he can help. He does a lot of business and he's a real estate agent. He's very knowledgeable in that area. He might know someone that can help you out too.
Okay.
Yeah. And the concern is, like, if you try to put these two parties together, then how the hell are you going to make any money?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I know. That's what. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah. We're not a nonprofit. We're here for profit. So let's talk about that later. Great job, though, Allison.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And guys, I don't know if you saw or not, but Allison just went and posted that in the Facebook group a couple days ago. And so if you guys are in a similar position, if you need help with something, if you're stuck with something, Allison, I think you got like 18 replies, people just showering you down with report. Edward giving you the list in the first place, people giving you suggestions. If you guys get stuck in a position where you're unsure of something, go ahead and post it in the Facebook group. You have a room full of investors here that are going to be able to help you out and guide you through this situation. So couldn't be even more prouder of the tribe and everything that you guys were able to accomplish this week in helping out Allison. That was incredible.
And shout out to Caesar too, because he spent some time with me on the phone, and I just want to let him know I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, can everybody give me a nice, beautiful smile?
Big smile, guys.
All right, cool. All right, guys, anything else?
If anyone needs those leads, anyone wants contacts, any city, state, I didn't even know I could do this till someone asked. So pick a state, pick a city, pick a zip code. The easiest way to do it, which Allison, I didn't do with you, but I've been just getting on a Zoom call, so I could show the map, I could show the different criteria, multi-unit, single family, LTV, absentee, you name it, I can do it. Right before this Zoom, Irish and I were on a call, and I sent her a list. So it's doable. It's very easy for me. I'll do it for every single one of you in here. I don't mind. So shoot me on Facebook, Instagram, anything you need. I want to help you guys out.
Thank you, Edward.
And guys, that's huge, because again, if you're not actively calling people, if you're not actively taking shots and putting offers out there, it's really hard to move forward in this business. So by a show of hands, who is actively buying property in this room? If you were to get a property under contract, who in this room would buy that property? So you guys can see here, there's some people in this room that if you were to get a property under contract in a market, they would probably be able to help you out and buy that property off of you. So just keep that in mind, guys. Again, if you're a wholesaler, if you're in Allison's position and something doesn't fit your criteria, feel free to share it in the group, because there might be somebody else in the group that it fits their criteria, and they can help you connect with that buyer and get that wrapped up yourself. All right. Edward, thanks again so much for all the help, guys. If you need anything, let us know during the week, and we'll see you guys next week. All right.
Let's get it.
Let's go, guys.
Thank you,
Brian,
guys.
appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
What was the code for the rookie?
Thanks, guys.
We're gonna
Thank you
post
so
the
much,
code
guys.
for
Appreciate
the
it.
rookie in the Facebook group, right, Brian?
Yeah. I just posted it right now, but you can use
okay.
the same exact code if you want to
Perfect. We'll post it in the Facebook group, guys, and then Brian just posted it in here as well. It's Raise 30 AC. if anybody's driving and they needed it, don't worry, we will post it in the Facebook group. All right.
Thank you guys a lot. Appreciate it.
You got
Nice
it, guys.
meeting you guys.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next week. If you need anything, let us know. All right.
Thanks, Brian.
you.
Thanks, Will. Alex.